Trigger warning for this first story, guys. It's going to be a little intense. It's about bodies and judging people's bodies. My Discord asked me to talk about this. I have some pretty strong opinions, and we're going to kind of have this conversation through more of a progressive lens, because this content creator named Sarah, she has a very interesting TikTok, and she has this post called "This Body is Fascism." So this is Kelly Osbourne, and she was recently on an award show with her mom. It is Ozzy Osbourne's daughter, Kelly. You probably remember her from their show. And she's really, really skinny. Obviously, people can see that. This creator named Sarah Wilson, her page is really specific. It says a matriarchist, a matriarchy now, stoking collective feminine rage. And then, you know, it's very like matriarchy now. Like, okay, if you go to, ignore Jim Carrey. We'll get to that in a second. Just kidding. The post about Kelly Osbourne, she says the war on the earth of our bodies is the war on the body of the earth. We need matriarchy now, and to put life, earth, women, and children and vulnerable first. So there's two variations of matriarchy that gets talked about. Matriarchy is not the opposite of patriarchy. Matriarchy, from Sarah's perspective, from this particular bubble, is a belief that the vulnerable, the land, the women, the children, the life of the village is primary, and is the focus, rather than what we have now, which is like a patriarchal framework. And then we have patriarchy plus capitalism. So under this matriarchal framework, it'd be matriarchy, the planet, the vulnerable, the people, the food, the resources. Like, it's the idea that care and love come first, which I love, rather than the winners and losers get separated into categories and hierarchies. She goes on to say, the timing of this body fascism post was wild. Right after reading how fascists like women, dangerously thin and so hungry that they're easily governable and controlled, my child and I got stuck in a 2-foot snowbank and both needed to shovel hard for 20 minutes straight to dig ourselves out. It took stamina and muscle and able-bodied privilege to do so, or to do it too. And with fascism, genocide, femicide, and climate crisis, which is true, all on the rise, well, I can. My body needs to be ready to fight, not faint, not wait to be saved. And this is also how my daughter is being raised. Excuse me. I'm not just a feminist, I'm a matriarchist. The death of patriarchy and the rebirth of indigenous matriarchy is the demand. Take the earth back from the white man and give it back to the indigenous feminine. We need a matriarchal world that puts life first. Matriarchy, we center the vulnerable first. We protect life, children, and the earth. We declare an end to femicide, ecocide, and genocide immediately. We call it femicide. We declare climate crisis worldwide and demand an end to genocide. Break all the death and break the death spell of patriarchy. Shatter the pedophilic patriarchal lens, resurrect the power of the primordial feminine, white, colonial, capitalist, Zionist, pedophilic. Did ChatGPT write this for you, girl? Did ChatGPT write this for you? Okay, sorry. Patriarchy must fall, indigenous matriarchy for all. Take the land back from the white man and give it to the indigenous feminine people. Okay, so this is Sarah. So, you know, take that with what you will. Let's go through this post together. First, okay. Okay. The post goes on. So the post says this body is fascism, right? And then it says, far-right women, there's no such thing as body positivity or body neutrality. Thinness is a moral imperative. It shows dominance over the body and aligns it oneself with European beauty standards. Lois Shearling. Okay, true. The far right, then, is a thin supremacist movement. This is known as body fascism, a term coined by Professor Brian Pronger. This says, look what they took from us. We will keep Skinny Talk alive. So then it's like, you know, this video. I don't know if this looks heavily edited to me. I don't know, right? Poe goes on to say, if I was trying to radicalize a young girl, I would incite an eating disorder because your capacity for critical thought is kneecapped by starvation. It would be easy to introduce a radicalized aspect to it. Okay, listen. There is a lot to say here, and I think there's a lot we should say here. And I think, you know, I learned that, you know, Epstein had some connections to a lot of mall culture and girl culture growing up in the 90s and 2000s. So I understand there's a lot of really evil shit happening in the world. And I need us to all calm down. I believe, because we do philosophy through pop culture here, that we need to calm down. We need to be focused, we need to be intentional, and we need to be grounded. So for me, it's a little much, you know, for two reasons. One, it is none of my business to comment on Kelly's body. Given what we know about sickness and illness and cancer and everything else, we have learned time and time again, when are we going to learn this lesson? Your body is, I got nothing to say about it. Okay. Now, in private, obviously, we all saw it and thought, okay, that's a lot. Like that's a very skinny Kelly. I think that's obvious, but we don't know what's happening. I know Ozempic is big right now. I know people are really traumatized. And look, the Lily Phillips who does Emily in Paris, like her body goes viral all the time. She's very, very skinny. I understand skinny legs, thigh gaps. I understand you're pregnant. They want you back in shape right away. You know, they teach you to be docile. They talk about only health in regards to thinness. You know, I understand the pressure is back. I understand skinny talk is huge right now. I understand eating disorders are back. I understand all these things. And I also understand an eating disorder is a mental health issue. So mental health on the rise is the issue, not this idea of pushing skinny. Pushing skinny is as insidious as any other marketing scheme, but really it's connected to mental health. The bigger issue here is our mental health is consistently always being degraded and challenged. And that's why I encourage therapy so much. Because again, therapy is for your mental health. It is for your eating disorders. It is for all of these problems we have. It is for fighting capitalism. It is for saying like, I feel this pressure from the world. I feel like I have to keep up with the Joneses. I feel all of this. And then therapy helps you. And then you have your philosophical work on top of that. But, you know, again, when I see Kelly and, you know, here, I can bring up a TikTok as well. And you guys can see a little further. When I saw Kelly, I just thought to myself, I don't know what's going on, but this is none of my business. Okay, it's just none of my business. And I don't say this because I'm trying to avoid responsibility. I say this because I'm sick of people talking about people's bodies. Like we don't know what's happening. And also just a reminder that her dad just died. And regardless of how you feel about how people should be mourning, her father just died. Maybe she was so stressed out by the loss of her father, she fucking can't eat. Do you know what I mean? Maybe she's literally traumatized by the death of her father. It just feels like so insensitive that we're not considering that she might have a lot of reasons to be sick.
Home, and it's good to be here. To know that people love him just as much as we did, and they're here giving us so much grace and just support, and it's beautiful.
Okay, like, look, obviously she could be grieving. There could be so much happening. I just feel like I understand the desire to fight against policing women's bodies, but I caution you from policing women's bodies. Like, you know what I mean? So I just caution this desire to make this post, to have, here, let's look at the comments. Actually, I'm curious what the comments say. Okay, let me pull it up for us. Let's see what her audience is saying. Let's see. This is so spot on. My God. Let's see. My mother was obsessed with being thin, even though she was unable to keep thin herself. It rubbed off on me. I spend more time than I'd like admitting worrying about my weight. When we obsess about our insecurities, imprison us and keeps us from focusing on things that really matter, our health, our loved ones, and our collective liberation. Yeah, but that's funny that you say having an eating disorder keeps you from managing your health. But guys, that's the indication that your health is bad. That is your health. You know what I mean? It is your health. We keep separating being thin from mental health. Why are we doing that? How can you say, oh, I've been thinking about my weight so much, it keeps me from staying healthy? Yeah, that's kind of the point of it. You're separating these things when they're all connected. Not everybody who counts calories has an eating disorder, but anyone with an eating disorder knows it's mental health. So again, when we're having these conversations, this isn't just marketing. This is literally unhealthy behavior being pushed on you from, yes, marketing and society and all these other things, because it's a status symbol as well, because it's so hard to attain. It's impossible to attain. That's why when you attain it, you're the unique, you're the exception. We talk about abs a lot because I think 1% to 2% of the population has abs, right? Like abs year-round abs. And when you attain that, it ups your status because people know how hard it is. So people go, oh my God, you're so amazing. It is very hard staying thin Because unless you have a biological genetic predisposition to thinness, most of us will gain weight. We will have mom arms. You know what I mean? Like we will have, look at this, look at this. This is my body. And I don't have a predisposition to thinness. I have a predisposition to this. And this thing right here, I wondered why certain girls had such thin arms. They're getting liposuction in their arms. I'm not getting liposuction in my arms, girls. Sounds like too much work. I'm not judging you if you do, though, but like I'm not getting it done. It's too much work. But that's okay. I don't think you have to hold arm fat. I don't think you should not get lipo. I just think you should understand why you're doing it. Look, if I could snap my fingers and have thinner arms, I would, because I think it would show my muscle more. I think it would show more definition for the work that I'm doing, right? But also, I don't care if you're fat or not, or chubby or not, or hold weight or not, or thin or not. I actually don't even care that you're thin. That's the other thing. It's not my business if you have an eating disorder, unless I can help you, unless you're my friend. My business is encouraging people to live a life where they don't have to have an eating disorder, where they can recover from their eating disorder. It's not about targeting that person. I don't want to target Kelly. I don't want to target Hollywood. I know everyone's obsessed. Look at as the post goes on. Look at this one. Hold on. Let me scroll. Okay. This one came out recently because Demi Moore was she was at the awards as well. Look at this. It says, she's aging like a woman under misogynistic, ageist, pedo, patriarchal oppression and descending into body fascism. Because this person posted, Demi Moore is aging like fine wine. She's 63. Like, look. We do live in a world where people want you to age in a particular way. They want to comment on you in a particular way. They want you to look a particular way. And I understand. And I do notice it. And I do think in my thoughts like, ooh, girl's looking pretty skinny though, girl, you know. And to be fair, we think it for everything. Like even when I see people gain radical weight, I'm like, okay, hello, are we eating like overeating? Because like usually radical changes in your weight are a sign of mental health. And the first thought we should have is, I hope my friend's okay. I hope she's okay. I hope they're okay. Instead of sitting here and thinking, right? Like, oh my God, like there doesn't seem to be care and compassion in this post, but I think that's what she means to do. Like, I think this writer, Sarah, is trying to be kind and compassionate, but it feels deeply cruel to me to put these women's bodies on display. And also, like, eating disorders are up in men. I don't see gender inclusion in this. It just feels like, I don't know what's happening in these people's lives, but it's obviously very difficult. And look, entertainment's a very hard industry. I certainly don't recommend it. Okay? So I didn't like it. I didn't like the post. I don't like the commentary on Kelly's body. What do you guys think? Chet says, I remember adult women in my family commenting on the thinness of my arms, and I was a child. Damn, bro. I barely notice that people gain or lose weight. It doesn't matter to me. It's none of my business. Let's see. Chet says she does look sick, and I think that should be respected for sure. Chet says I do intermittent fasting. I started accidentally and stuck to it. I did it for health reasons when I learned the benefits. Actually, I just heard a new study came out and said it actually doesn't show any significant difference, but I have to look more into that. And I thought that was interesting because I tried it, but I can't do it to save my life, so I'm not doing it. But I just saw one on the news about how a new study said there might not be much of a difference. So, you know, for to each their own. But isn't that interesting? Like, we are trying to do things, to be fair, for our health. Like, we're trying to do things for our life. Ooh, Discord, great point, says a body cannot be fascist, an image can. And ironically, putting this body as fascist feels very authoritarian. Yeah, actually, that's a good point, that your body is your vessel. And yes, the mental gymnastics you went through to keep your body a particular way in order to appeal to this patriarchal system is fascist, maybe, or in a sense, you know, maybe it could be, but your body is not. Your body is not owned by the government. It is not political. Your body becomes political because it exists through observation, but your body is not inherently political. When I say that, I need you to know this is a philosophy channel. I need you to know that you exist outside of these systems, that I do not want you looking in the mirror and thinking about what people think about your body. I want you to look in the mirror and just think, this is my body. No judgment. No judgment, you know? So that's why I think like we have to have these conversations about what works for what we need at the time. Actually, Chad says, what do you think about body neutrality versus body positivity? I think both work for different stages of your life. At one point in my life, I needed to be body positive. At one point in my life, I needed body neutrality. I think these constructs are created to help people on their journey, depending on where you are on that journey. And the problem is we keep putting people in boxes to expect them to be at a particular place or not to account for where they are. Like in the same way that if you're a conservative, you should go from conservative to liberal to progressive. People have to go on the journey. Most people do not go from conservative all the way to progressive. There's usually a little bit of a transition. People struggle to transition. And so people need it. Obviously, ideally, we would get to the point where bodies were basically neutral, and only subjectively judged or judged without condemnation for the utility in which they are being utilized, because they are certainly vessels and they do help do stuff, so there is sort of a judgment in terms of an awareness that we create around bodies. Like, is my body capable of doing XYZ because I need XYZ done? Like in this post, she says that she was shoveling snow with her kid and she needed an able body to do it. Yeah, like do I have the kind of body that makes it easier for me or accessible for me to shovel snow? Like example is, I don't want to live anywhere with snow, because I just know I wouldn't be able to keep up with it. I've already lived in snow and I'd never left the house if it was snowing, basically. And so when we have these conversations about our bodies, I look at it like a ship that carries my consciousness, like a boat, like the Mary, like this is my boat, like Luffy's boat. This is my boat. And this gets me through the day. It helps my consciousness travel. As I get older, I identify less and less with this thing. Like this thing, chat says I call it my shell. There you go. I just think this thing tells you very little about this thing, like this person inside my brain, inside my consciousness. Like I think that's the problem, is that our bodies can tell us a lot about maybe you could assume based off of my body, some of my lived experiences, and you might be correct. And maybe you could assume that, maybe my gender or something, and you might be correct or wrong. It just depends. You might, you could assume a lot from my body, but there's only so much. Well, my body is having a different experience than my consciousness. And though I used to think they were the same, as I've gotten older, I'm almost positive they're absolutely different. Now, some people take a radical stance that you are your body, you are your brain, and they'll reference like degenerative illnesses or Alzheimer's or something. But I really don't think that's true. And nor do I think people really believe that's true. I think people really deeply struggle to believe that's true. And I think it is true that we're animals on a planet, but I think it's obvious that like when you have a loved pet or you see a suffering animal, that the difference between their body that's failing and their consciousness that's aware that their body is failing. Like, yes, your brain might not be processing or sending signals, but I don't think we really know as much as we think we know. So I would be very cautious to assume, because I think that assumption creates like a room for objectification of people instead of a humanization of their experience, right? So I think there's some layers there. That says it feels important to discuss, but at the same time, it's unfortunate how individual bodies become the sites of these discussions. That's it, girl. You got it. That's my biggest issue, is obviously we need to have this conversation. And I wish it didn't come through targeting women and their bodies. Because I would love to have this conversation, but I really don't like the way, you know what I mean? That we are, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just really don't like that. It's just not the right way to go about it. There were so many other ways we could have done it, and I get it. I get the overall message, but I just think this is the wrong way to do it. And again, it's not like, choice feminism. It's not like we're picking and choosing. It's not like we're saying, oh, it's feminist to have an eating disorder, like your body, your choice. I'm just saying, if you have an eating disorder, I'm so sorry you're suffering. It must be a big struggle. I'm not going to judge you for it. I don't think you're a bad person because you have an eating disorder. I don't think you should disappear from the internet. I don't think you should be put into a cave and never seen. You know what I mean? Like, you deserve to exist in the world as much as anybody else. And I really think we're getting to the point where, in the way that people were fat phobic and shoving people and saying like, don't show up, don't post. It's like you're doing it to skinny people or people who have eating disorders. Like, we cannot be doing this. And fat people can have eating disorders, just FYI. But like, you are, at the end of the day, you deserve to be seen and heard and exist. Okay. Now listen, chat says heroin chic is coming back and I hate it. It's so sad. Listen, heroin chic is an eating disorder. That's what it is. It's coming back, okay? Because the world is mentally ill. We are suffering. People are deeply suffering, okay? We are a species that, instead of looking for the real answers in the universe, are focused on creating constructs around that belief, right? Like we're going to talk about Gabby Hanna and mental health and, her talking to Jesus. We're going to talk about that later today. We are too busy figuring out if Jim Carrey or Selena Gomez has been turned into a clone by the elites, instead of actually just grounding ourselves and having real discussions about how the world is suffering and how it's coming at the expense of all of our children. And whether we like it or not, we are susceptible to marketing. We are susceptible to our environments. And it's not just marketers. It's your parents. It's your grandparents. The way you talk to your kids, the way my family talks to people about fatness, the way I've seen my cousins, my siblings get criticized for their body shapes and the way they look. And as children, as like literally, like they're not even fat. And not that they can't be fat. It's okay to be fat. But the point is, if you grow up in a household that doesn't want you to be fat, the tiniest bit, even my arms, they'd be like, oh, look at this. Instead of it being funny and cute and be like, oh my God, my arms are so funny. Look at my arms. And instead of it being like a funny, cute thing where I feel good about myself, it's a disgust response. And I'm like, hey, don't look at people's arms and have a disgust response. But that's trained into us, right? I saw this video. So remember that. Remember, every time you sit there and blame marketing, remember it's more than marketing. It's your fucking mouth. It's your fucking mouth that's the problem, including this post. Because this post, you know what this post does? It triggers my PDA. It makes me want to starve myself. Not literally, but I had the thought. My intrusive thought, because remember, my thought is different than my intrusive thoughts. My intrusive thought was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get super uber skinny. Don't tell me what to do. Because it sounds like you're policing our bodies. Stop telling people what to fucking do. Okay? It's none of your fucking business. But my real thought is, I can't get skinny. I'm growing muscles. I can't get skinny. I'm trying to get buff. You know what I mean? So, okay. Look at this video that I saw that I think is really important. It relates. It's a different topic, but it completely relates. Okay. Our girls would rather die with someone than be happy alone. It's our fault as parents. Look at this. Okay. This is from Bridging Faith. I think they're, Christian, but ignore that part. Oopsies, it's muted.
Our girls would rather die with someone than be happy alone. It's coming from your mouth. From the moment you start training them to clean. Look at you. What kind of a girl can't cook? Who will marry you? You say that to your daughters. A girl who can't do this, who will marry you? A girl who can't clean, who will marry you? So, as she grows, she begins to realize the purpose of a woman is to be better prepared for a coming man. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
That's why when she gets married, she drops her single friends because she's better. She's achieved the goal of existence. Even the parents will say, why are you still friends with single people? What are you talking about? Even if her friends...
Okay, guys, first of all, I love that. What's the PDA? Someone said, what is PDA? What's the new version we're using? We're not using pathological demand avoidance anymore. What's the new one we're using? I can never remember it because I'm still learning it. Oh, I hate that. I hate when I see how long it takes me to learn the new stuff. What's the new one? Because it's much more important. It's so much better. No. It's pathological agency. It's like a call for agency. Drive for autonomy. Thank you, chat. Persuasive. Drive for autonomy. I need to remember that. No. You didn't spread misinformation. This is a new thing, and I'm on board with it. It's a new thing. So the medical diagnosis is like PDA, which is like, it's like a demand avoidance, which makes it sound like I'm being like just rebellious for the shits of it, but it's actually a trigger in the brain that starves for agency, that says like, don't tell me what to do, literally. Like, you are making me feel like I'd rather kill myself than stay alive. And persistent drive for autonomy is to say that, hey, I have autonomy. Don't tell me what to do. And I think it's so important, and it coincides with this so heavily for me, which is like, I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. No, chat. Chat said, is it like oppositional defiance disorder? No. Oppositional defiance disorder is without reason and without thought. I'm not a medical professional. You have a thing in your brain that just refuses to engage, versus my demand for like agency comes from a deep need of like protection, right? It's from being trapped and not having choices. It's from this idea that like, hey, don't tell me what to do. I know what I'm doing, right? Like, I already am doing it. You're triggering something in my body that's meant to defend. It's like a protective measure, right? Chesed it's an autistic thing. Yeah. Chesed is an ADHD and autistic thing. It is heavily identified with autism, but I think it's for both, right? But I think it's specifically an autistic thing, if I'm not mistaken. An autistic, yeah, it says an autism profile. It is specifically for autism. But yeah. Persistent drive for autonomy is so important. So when I saw this post, and I know it's coming from a woman who's like, oh, you're forgetting that we're biological creatures on a planet that are also having a biological reaction to our situations. So when people sit there and go like, your body is fascism, it's like, how is this helping me? Like, if I saw this post, how is this helping me? You know what I mean? I don't get that. Like, how are you encouraging me to love myself? If any of the women in this post saw it, how would this help them? Explain it to me. Versus saying, I feel for Kelly Osbourne. She's really struggling. I don't know what's going on with her. I hope she's okay. I'm really concerned, but you know what? I trust her to be an adult. I trust the people in her life to help her, even though she's in such a difficult industry, even though the women in this industry are so pressured. The men in this industry are so pressured to fit into a specific niche. I just hope and pray all of these people get the help that they need, that they have the resources they need to seek out the medical care they need, because, this is such an example of the way we suffer out in the open, and we can only hope that something is being done. But we don't want to pull a Chadwick Boseman again, where we saw Chadwick and he was dying of cancer and people were mocking the way he looked, right? They said, oh, he had an eating disorder, and like, saying all these derogatory things to him. And it's just so sad, right? And I just don't want us to do that again. I don't want us to fall into this thing. So here's like one of the examples of how badly his cancer had impacted him towards the end. And I just want you to remember that he was so terrified to tell people he had cancer because he was afraid of losing his job and losing the chances for his family to benefit from his time at doing Marvel films, right? So he didn't tell the public because you all suck, okay? You suck. You suck. You suck. You suck. And that's the point. We suck. This sucks. I hate this. This is bad. You suck. Don't talk about people's bodies. I'm sick of it. Okay? It's sucky. It's bad. It's not good. Okay? And again, when are we going to learn? How can you sit there and make a whole post about matriarchy and body fascism and all this stuff, and then turn around and target a group of women who are already suffering in an industry that sucks? Yeah, and colon cancer is on the rise. Colon cancer is severely on the rise. It's so bad that I told my partner, we have to go for a colonoscopy just in case. And we're probably going to be a year out from getting them unless we go through a private doctor, right? So like, we need to get a colonoscopy even though we're a little bit under the age of expectation. I think it's like 40. Is it 40 for a colonoscopy? I don't know. But either way, it is up. It is up. I remember I've seen so many people on TikTok, 1 minute they're there and 1 minute they've died from colon cancer. It's so real. So again, we should be kind and compassionate because the struggle is real and it's happening right in front of our eyes. And who knows, maybe she's doing a personal hunger strike for somebody. Maybe she's grieving because her dad died. Maybe she's got cancer. Maybe. Oh, it dropped to 35. Well, then I'm a year behind. I got to go get my colonoscopies. Yeah, see, I'm 36. I should have gotten it done then. Okay. So all of this to say, thank you for Discord for asking me to cover this. And also, we have to do better. This just felt very unnecessary. This post felt it could have been done more tastefully. And to be fair, her whole page feels to me a little gimmicky. It feels very brand. I mean, it does a lot of advocacy work, talks about Gaza, it talks about a lot of really hard topics, but it's too curated. It's, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a real person runs the page. It feels like AI could have run this. But people like it. She has an okay following, right? People might need this on their journey. I don't think we needed to see this post in this way. You know? Okay, hold on. Let me see. This says, all right, I agree with you until you showed the picture of Gwyneth Paltrow simply working out like a while. I understand that people should love themselves no matter their body size and be happy with themselves, to sit there and say that women who chooses to eat healthy and work out is fatphobic. Well, it's because Gwyneth Paltrow is in charge of Goop, and Gwyneth overcharges people for products that are high-end customers and sets a standard of like expectation that is unrealistic, unattainable, and unnecessary. So the commentary from this post is actually Gwyneth Paltrow's company Goop, not that she's simply working out. So then of course, this begs the question of like, do we ever, so just so you know, I do understand where this poster is coming from. I do understand that she's not just commenting on people who work out. She's commenting on the capitalistic structure in place through patriarchy that lends itself to manipulating consumers into buying into unhealthy eating habits, expectations of bodies they'll never have, and they compare themselves to celebrities who have all this access to all of these things. And look, we saw Oprah, we saw Kelly Armstrong? Kelly, what's that girl's name who won American Idol? Kelly Clarkson. We saw Kelly Clarkson. We saw these people take their drugs and they got super skinny. We've seen podcasters talk about it. We've seen all these people, and I understand it's like hard to see, but close your eyes. Because what kind of a situation are you in where you feel like you need to take this and then it's none of my business? It's none of my business if you have an abortion. It's none of my business if you take a fucking Ozempic. It's none of my fucking business. Because at the end of the day, you're not my friend and I don't know you. Okay? And I remember because Chelsea Fagan from Financial Diet got a lot of heat for taking some weight loss stuff and people were really upset. Listen, first, I really think you should be careful what you tell the internet because it's certainly none of their fucking business. And two, I do think we need to lay off. Now, okay, here's my last suggestion before we switch topics. It is recommended. And here's my Chat says I'm disappointed Serena Williams for promoting GLP-1s. Listen, here is my recommendation. Stop pedestaling celebrities and strangers you don't know. Stop pedestaling your family and friends first, because I saw that ad too and I was like, really, girl? But anyways, whatever. Okay. Second, you don't know why people are doing these things, so certainly none of your business to judge. And three, there's a bigger problem happening, right? And I think that's really important. I think it would do you a great justice to not comment on their social media pages, to not bother them in their comment sections, and to make sure that if you're going to comment, do your best to comment in a way that actually gives people solutions. Because see, this whole post, for me, it didn't feel like where was the solution in this post? Like, okay, so what now? Right? Like, what do you want me to do about it? Okay. And then it does feel a little weird for her to be like, we should go back to indigenous, whatever. Who is she? Who is this girl? Like, where is her face? What does she look like? Is she AI? Like, who is this girl? Who is Sarah? Which picture is hers? Like, I don't even know what she looks like. Who is she? Let me see. Private midlife mentorships. Oh, so she sells mentorships. Cool. Yeah, like, who is she? Priestess training, a priestess teacher. So she's a scam artist. What is she? Primordial priestess. Who is this? I created this curriculum from 14 years of teaching women and femmes about the primordial feminine and 7 years of teaching teachers. It's time to teach teachers again. Who is this? Can I see a photo, please? What is? Huh. Yeah, I don't get it. What's that? I am a mother and a teacher. Doesn't she remind you of Teal Swan a bit? It's giving Teal Swan. I'm a mother, a teacher, a rite of passage guide, and a spiritual midwife. My first work was a rock and roll and arts writer in New York City before my Kundalini awakening to the goddess in 2011. I've been teaching, guiding women and femmes back to the primordial feminine. Yeah, it's giving Teal Swan, guys. It's giving Teal Swan. Okay, I'm glad we kind of looked up that. Yeah, it's giving Teal Swan. Okay, so ew, don't like it, negative, negatory, not a fan. Yeah, no wonder it was tone deaf. Because she lives in a fucking different planet, okay? No offense. Okay, no offense. There you go. Stop seeing random posts on Instagram and thinking they know what they're talking about. Because at the end of the day, they're pushing their own agenda as well. And I don't like it. I don't know who this woman is, but her work is not impressing me. Be kind and compassionate. The world really needs it.